Yes, mate. Oh, Dax. Get on, boy. Go on, son. That is fantastic. I bet he's owned that from new. Oh, he's done me. It's amazing how small the old Daxes are. I mean, if you've only seen, sort of recently seen the new one, the 125, like that is considerably smaller. That's great. He's just pooling along, not a care in the world. It's probably going to be a bit slower up the hill. Well, I didn't do an intro because I was too busy dacking off, but what's happening YouTube? It's Vector here. Eagle-eyed viewers will notice that this is the follow-on for the previous video. I'm heading back out now. I've just picked up my beautiful new fairing, which is looking the biz. It's not fallen off yet in the last, like, you know, minute and a half since I ended the last video, so that's a good sign. And yeah, we're heading on. Slightly unusual one now. I'm going to actually potentially to buy a helmet now, which is not something I do very often. I tend to hold on to my helmets for as long as I safely can, but I wanted to I don't know, I've just been getting an itch recently to try out an open face. And it's a bit unusual because I've always been quite against open faces. Yeah, just because obviously, like, if you have a crash with an open face, you're going to smash your face in. And that's just kind of the fact of it. It's you can talk. There's a lot of talk about, like, oh, you'll be alright. You'll hit your forehead first. You'll roll. Like, let me tell you, when I had my accident, my last accident, I got knocked off 30, 35 sort of miles an hour. I went down the road on my face and I ground the front of the visor, the front of the chin of the helmet, the forehead of the helmet, and I ripped the visor off. And that was a slow speed crash. I didn't even hit anything. I hit the ground. I didn't even go into a car. As a result, I didn't have so much as a black eye because I had a full face helmet on. But yeah, I don't know. I've just been getting a bit of an itch for it. I keep seeing, like, I don't know, just like, I want the airflow. I want to give it a try and see how I get on with it. I have ridden with an open face helmet once off road in a field when I was younger, and I felt horrible. I hated it. It felt really exposed. But I don't know. I'm going to give it a try, and we'll see how we go. Worst case scenario, I'm buying quite a cheap one. Not the one I'm looking at is quite a cheap one. So worst case scenario, if it's a crap helmet, I'll just, you know, stick on a shelf and not use it, or only use it for like DGR and sort of charity rides and not use it the rest of the time. Or my friend did suggest I could use the open face for the CG videos because they're slower and local and, you know, smaller lanes and stuff like that, and then I keep using the full face for like this sort of stuff. Now I was hoping to find like a nice second-hand one, just a, well, you know, 20 quid, and just I could try it, and then if I like it I can get a better one. If I don't like it, I've not wasted much money. And I've been looking around, looking, and it's just, there's just nothing around. Like, or rather there is, but there's nothing that fits what I need. So for a start, apparently everyone in sort of this end of Cornwall and West Devon are just like tiny wee pinheads. They're all wearing like smalls and extra smalls and mediums and crap like that. I did an XL, by the way, with a massive dome on me, and that's not even me being fat, like, although I am as well, but because the shell size is measured off your forehead, so it's, you're not even putting weight on it there. There's a lot of small helmets. There's a lot of D-rings as well. That's another thing, which I was being fine with if I was just buying for the cheap sort of give it a go helmet. But in general, like, they tend to go with helmet, particularly like the style I'm going for is the kind of jet style, I think it's known as, which is like the simple, open, you know, it's not like a scooter helmet, it's like a custom kind of old school, like bell helmet, that sort of style. And because it's aimed at the sort of older school, the older riders, the custom crowd, they tend to be the D-rings because that's what those guys grew up on. For me, I started out on ratchet, and I much prefer the ratchet because, I don't know, it just feels less fiddly. It feels easier to adjust on the move. If I forget to do it up, I can do it up one-handed with gloves on, which is quite nice. And I'm sure with practice you can do that with a double D as well, but like it's yeah, no, I like ratchet, and that sort of limits the choices slightly. And then trying to find the right shell, and trying to find ones that aren't massive as well, because there's a few where you end up with this kind of like space, like astronaut vibe, where it's just a massive shell. Open faces aren't the most flattering anyway, because you tend to look like a fat kid stuck in a lift door. And then you add in like a massive shell on top, and it's not exactly a good look. I find one that looks nice. I tried it on when I was at this location recently, and it seems nice. And the location actually, weirdly, is Chequered Flag Cafe. Yeah, I've been looking around at it. I tried all the usual places. I checked J&S, and because obviously they're the biggest, they're the sort of Plymouth's biggest clothing store, motorcycle clothing store. I tried Sports Bike Shop. They're the sort of best online retailer. Yeah, all the cheap stuff was kind of like, it's all samey. And actually the helmet I'm looking at is available for about the same price of all of these places. So I'm deciding to go to Chequered Flag for it, just because I want to support their business, basically. We close that. And yeah, I sort of figure, I hope you can hear me alright at this sort of speed, by the way. Apologies if you can. But yeah, I just sort of felt like all the clothing stores are probably doing all right, or at least as well as they can in the current climate. Because people are still buying clothing. They might not be buying motorcycles with the same frequency that they have been, but they're still buying clothing and kit. All that people can afford at the moment. They can't afford a new bike, but they might be able to treat themselves to a new helmet or a new jacket or a new, you know, whatever. And obviously the seasons are changing right now, so we're at the point where people are going to be maybe buying new outfits or buying new jackets, or they're putting away their summer jacket, find they don't fit into their winter jacket anymore, that sort of vibe. So the clothing stores should be doing as well as they can, but Chequered Flag, it's a little bit out there, it's a bit of a random spot. It is in Cornwall, so obviously it's only really getting the Cornish market, and it's also on a dual carriageway, so it's a bit of a weird, like, there's no foot traffic. All you get are people driving past, and then even then people probably don't think of it as a clothing store. First and foremost, they go for the cafe or they go for whatever, they probably don't buy a huge amount else. So I thought, well, if the price is the same, I might as well support this business, because I like Chequered Flag a lot, and I want Chequered Flag to continue to be profitable, because that means that they'll still be there for me to, you know, utilise. So the helmet I'm looking at is the Axor Jet. It's actually got a visor on it, which is interesting. I would be removing that most likely. It's very nice to have, like, from a practicality point of view, but it doesn't really fit the aesthetic. Let me open this before I choke to death. It doesn't really fit the vibe, so I'll take the visor off and run it with just like sunglasses, maybe goggles, but probably sunglasses. Yeah, it looks really nice. It's a matte black. The one I'm going for is, it's got a brown liner, brown leather liner and padding, and then it's got like a nice brown, the leather sort of wraps around the edge of the shell, like the front leading edge, and has a little bit of stitching on it and stuff. It looks really, really nice actually. Quite simple, it's very simple, it's very like clean. I was looking at, there's a couple of Spadas that are on offer, which are arguably a nicer helmet, probably a safer helmet, but they've got Spada written in white straight across the forehead, and I don't mind that on a helmet like this. Like, I've got Nolan written across my helmet here, if you can see that in my mirror. But when it's a custom vibe, I don't know, that seems a bit like brash. It doesn't quite fit the aesthetic. And if you buy an open face, let's face it, the only thing you're buying it for is aesthetic and long pools of unrestricted air. And of course that's the other thing, is you might be going, Spectre, it's November, why are you buying summer gloves and open face helmets? You know what, I don't know either. Your guess is as good as mine. I don't know, I think I'm trying to cling to the memory of summer. I think that's kind of where I'm at. I think I'm in denial, and I'm buying summer stuff in the hope that I can kid myself that I'm not wearing like 8 layers and sweating my dick off because I had to walk a bike with it when I was off the bike. So we'll see. But yeah, I'm gonna go check it out. I'm gonna go and swing by the cafe. Probably won't eat anything, although I may do because it is getting a bit late. We'll see. As I say, it's a cheap helmet. You know, I wouldn't know if it was buying a full face. I wouldn't buy. It's like a 60 quid helmet, right? I wouldn't buy a 60 quid full face because that's just asking for trouble. At least now, everyone starts there, right? You know, I did my time. I started out on the Box BX1 back when I was 16 and 17. Reason being, it was the cheapest full face helmet that Dan Morell's on Motley Plain, RIP, They sold. It was 30 quid from memory. I think it was 30 or 35 quid, brand new. Massive shell, heavy, crap, no features. Bought 2 of them though. Bought one, I dropped the first one, so I then replaced it, got a white one instead. But yeah, I've done my time with the cheap helmets, but nowadays, like I try and do slightly nicer. I still want to go high end because it is a helmet. You're going to drop it at some point. You're going to damage it. It is disposable to a degree. As much as you shouldn't be just throwing it away willy-nilly, but at the same time, it is a helmet you're going to use for, like, you know, 5 years. They say, don't they, and then replace it ideally. I know people do much longer than that, but ideally. And it's one use in a crash or a drop. Like, I had a mate got a lovely carbon fibre, like really nice helmet, and then he had it about a week and like fell on his ass walking into a supermarket, slipped over and just bounced it off the ground. It was like, great, that's it. That's like 400 quid's worth of helmet done. So I generally sit around the like 200 quid mark ish. And that's about what I paid for this. I've got a Seller, like a yellow. Yeah, I've got a Nolan, oh, what am I wearing? N87, I think it is. And I think it's the N87 Plus, because I wanted this colour scheme, the black and the white. Yeah, I think that's about that. I think it was about 200 quid. My first Nolan 87, which is the one I was damaged in the crash, that was a little bit cheaper, I think, because it was like just the base model. But unfortunately, they discontinued a lot of the like nice colour schemes by the time I came to buy it in replacement, so I kind of was forced to up spec a little bit. It's a good helmet though, like it's fairly noisy. It is a little bit noisy, it is quite heavy as well, but it fits me really nicely. It's got an internal sun visor, which I really like. That's a kind of must for me on full faces. It's got ratchet strap, it's got removable padding, not that I really care about that, but it's got sort of emergency removable padding. It's got space for their proprietary comms unit. I don't use any comms unit really, but I certainly don't use proprietary. But it's nice to have the option, isn't it? Like I say, I'm gonna give it a try. I'm gonna see how I like it, but I'm kind of like, if you wear an open face, you probably don't really care about safety anyway. I'm kind of in that sort of ballpark. I know that people would disagree with that, of course, and are entitled to, but for me, I'm just like, it's yeah, if you have an accident, you're gonna smash your face off. And don't get me wrong, I don't have a good face, but I do quite like eating steak, so I prefer to avoid like road rashing my chin off, looking like some sort of gormless skeleton the whole rest of my life. But at the same time, I do find these helmets quite stuffy, and I always ride with it cracked, the visor cracked, but even then, like, you get a little bit like breathless sometimes in this confined space. So it'd be nice, I think, just to try the open face. Let's just see how I get on with it. I'd like to say, it is a cheap helmet. It's still a cheap helmet, even though it's not the second-hand one I was going to get. That's the other thing. I generally wouldn't buy a second-hand helmet because you don't know the history of it. You don't know if it's been dropped. You don't know if it's been looked after. Like, you don't know if it's been stored in a window and they've got all brittle, and you know what I mean. Like, you can't trust a second-hand helmet. So unless you have no other option, then it's probably best not to. And actually, I'd probably rather buy a brand new, cheaper brand than a second-hand, you know, Sherry or Arai or whatever. It's just trying to change up the vibe, really. It's just trying to buy and get a new experience. It's absolutely the wrong season for it. I'm fully aware I'm gonna be very cold riding home for this, got eyes watering and the rest of it, but we'll give it a bash. We'll see how it performs. I'll ride it with my neck scarf up first, and I'll probably pull over and pull the scarf down, see how it is just fully naked to the wind. I'll probably wear a scarf most of the time just so I'm not pulling flies out of my beard the whole time, because that probably looks quite grim. Like, I'm well aware when I look at the front of my actual helmet and the just massacre of bugs across it, then I don't really want that to be my face. But we'll see, right? We'll see how it performs. The safety thing is an interesting conversation, because am I remembering this right? Did Spain say they were going to outlaw the sale of open face helmets? Did I remember that right? There's interesting connotations or conversations, sorry, to have around things like helmet usage in general. Like, I would never ride a bike without a helmet, like anywhere. But then I guess, like, if you want to just ride it up and down the street to, I don't know, like I don't know. It comes into an interesting debate on obviously it's dangerous, but like, everything's dangerous, right? Bikes in general are dangerous. So where's the line drawn between you choosing whether or not to look after your own safety? At what point is it taking away freedom to, or taking away your own choice to be sort of forced to be safer? And even if that's in your best interest, I mean, there's a lot of things that could be forced on us to make us safer, you know. Like you could limit high fat foods, and you could like, and not just like making it expensive, but you could like literally ban people from having above an X amount of calories per day, or you know what I mean, like, or you could, yeah, you could ban people, you could try and ban people riding bikes, you could try and ban people doing all sorts of stuff. And where's that line drawn? It's like whether or not you would personally ride open face, or whether or not you would personally ride without a helmet. Should it be the law? I don't know. It's an interesting one. I don't really know where I stand on that, but like, I do know, like, in terms of seat belts, for example, I'd be, if they suddenly were like, actually we're not making it a law anymore, you don't have to wear seat belts, I'd actually be fine with that, to be honest. Because like, you're only going to kill yourself, aren't you? Like, of course the caveat to that would be if you're in an official vehicle, like a taxi or something, they can make you wear a seatbelt, because obviously you are a risk, for that seatbelt you are a risk to the other occupants as a projectile. And if you're in the back seat without a seatbelt, you'll kill the person in front of you when you go through them. In that scenario, like, the taxi driver should, for their own safety, should be able to say, if you want to ride my taxi, you wear seatbelts, sort of thing. But in terms of in your own car, like, I always wear seatbelts, don't be wrong, and properly wear. I don't do that like lap belt thing, or like keep the one strap across you but sit on the lap belt thing. I don't do any of that bollocks, I just wear it, it's fine. But at the same time, I wouldn't mind if people didn't have to, you know. They're not going to be a danger to me because they're not wearing a seatbelt. If anything, they'll probably be safer because they'll be paying more attention, right? It's that fallacy, I don't know where it came from, but it's that kind of comment where if you put a knife blade on the steering wheel pointed up at the driver, everyone would drive really, really, really carefully, because even though the blade is dangerous, you'd probably reduce road accidents because people are going to be paranoidly checking so they don't like kebab themselves on their own wheel. Where do safety features then make us less safe? And that kind of goes for like all these like lane departure and lane assist and all of this sort of the same, all these driver aids, stuff like traction control, ABS, SCS and cars and stuff. That's obviously good, but the rest of it, like, I'd rather people didn't have that and that they drove paying attention, personally. But then you can argue that some of these aids make you less fatigued on a longer like motorway drive, thus making you more alert. So there's arguments for both, certainly. And I'm sure a million studies have been done by all of them, you know. Let's say that's kind of all I got on the topic, so I'll catch up with you at Chequered Flag, and or arrive at Chequered Flag, and then we'll swap over. We'll probably have to swap to a voiceover, because obviously I'm not going to have an audio setup for the new helmet. I also probably won't bother with an audio setup for the new helmet, because I'm not going to stick a camera to it. That would just ruin the look. If I do film with the open face helmet, I'll probably buy a chest mount and do that, but I don't really want a wire going down to my chest, so I think maybe open face will be like, won't be spoken vlogs maybe. Yeah, catch you in a minute. That's fine. I thought to be flattered then. Well, I didn't see that coming, I'll be honest. I'm just in a little cheeky back road. I'm not able to do a proper test ride, unfortunately, but Oh, Christ. Let's go off the curb, why not? Yeah, going for a helmet. I might end up buying a Transalp for this, right? See that pickup? Oh, that's just sold it. Fuck's sake, man. I was like, yeah, I'll be good, you know. Job stuff, money stuff, like I won't buy more stuff now, that'd be silly. That would be silly, wouldn't it, boys? Well, let's just support Chequered Flag by buying a helmet and buy a bike off of this, right?
Well, here we are. So, first things first, as you can see I did actually buy the helmet. This is a jet style helmet from Axel. I don't know if it actually has a model name, that probably costs too much. The helmet's great though, it looks fantastic with the leather edge trim and it's really comfortable. It's already become my chuck on for local trips go-to, and I've actually found riding with an open face much more relaxed than I expected. I am still conscious of the increased risk, and of course it's pretty cold this time of year even with a beard, but come the summer I think I'll get a lot of use out of it. The visor is a little odd, it sometimes doesn't quite line up with my nose, and I don't really know if the helmet is crooked or I am. That doesn't really matter though, because I still plan to take the visor off once I get some new cheap glasses. I'm also glad I went back in person instead of buying online, because I ended up dropping a size to wear an L in this versus the XL on my Nolan. Now, the elephant in the vlog. Did I buy that Honda Transalp? What would that mean for the Magna if I did? The Transalp felt great in that limited loop of the car park, but that's hardly a test. It was a good price, but also a little beat. So did I? Or didn't I? I guess you'll have to wait and see.